is Sarah. If we have not met yet, I am a wife and a mom to 8 children, ages 16 down to 3. And I just thought that I would take a few videos and kind of share my thoughts on storing food for the unexpected and a little bit of my story. This first video is going to be a little bit about myself and why I think food storage is important. So, of course, excuse me if I'm looking down a little bit to my notes. I don't want to forget anything, and I have a tendency to do that. So like everywhere you look, right, people are talking about food storage and its importance, and they're talking about extreme situations and all these things. And so a lot of people are coming and learning about food storage and stocking up and building a pantry for the very first time. But this is something that our family has always done. My husband's family, my family, we both came from rural Pennsylvania, and for generations, his family as well as mine were, people of the land. They were preserving their own harvests. They were preserving, things that they could get from other people in the area. It was a way of life. And so my parents, I grew up on 50 acres. We had a big garden, and that fed us through the winter. Mom would harvest what she could, and we, of course, would eat it fresh, but then there's more than you can use, and so she would can it. I don't remember there being like a lot of freezing of the produce from our garden, but we also had pigs and beef and chickens for eggs and for meat. My dad hunted. Sometimes he hunted some strange things, but mostly venison. And so we always had a full freezer, full shelves of canning jars, filled with the bounty of the summer, and we never went hungry. Even though, looking back, we were pretty low income. We didn't have a lot of money, but we were always well taken care of. So there's a lot of information going around about how to start storing food, where to start, how to do it, and of course there's no one right way for anybody, but I just thought I'd share the next couple of videos what works for our family, and maybe you'll be able to apply a little bit of that to your situation as well. So we have been married for 16 and a half years, and we've pretty much had some form of food storage that entire time. Before we got married, my husband was working at Lowe's, and he got the opportunity to buy an upright freezer. It had a big dent in the top, but it worked fine, and so he bought that for $75. And so when we got married, we had, I'm trying to remember who did it. Okay, so his parents gave us a lot of canned beef. They gave us some frozen beef that had come from a family member. His grandma helped us get started with canned soup, like home canned soup. My parents were helping us out with pigs and with beef, and so we always had something. And of course, his parents at that point still had a garden. They don't anymore. My parents had a garden, and so even though we didn't have a garden, we were able to benefit from those things. Trying to think what else I wanted to say. So whenever we got married, I was 16, my husband was 19. We really didn't know a whole lot, but like I said, we had that background. The other thing whenever I was growing up was that it was like the early to mid 90s, and coupons were amazing at that point. So of course, on top of the things that my parents were able to get from their own land and from local orchardists and farmers and things, we had stockpiles of cereal bought for pennies on the dollar and things like that. The other thing was that my mom was reading Amy Decision's Tightwad Gazettes as soon as they were released in book form. I remember her being on the waiting list for them at the library, and so that was the basis of my childhood. My husband's family had a little bit more money, but that was the same kind of style of life. that we both grew up with. So, yeah, I'm very, very thankful for having that background. And I just told someone recently that I love that I have that kind of a background, because whenever things get stressful and you want something that's just comforting, familiar, a lot of people probably would, in that situation, want something, that they had purchased, or a specific place that they went out to eat, or something that had fond memories. But for me, it's like pickled beets and homemade pickles, and like canned beef with noodles, and those kinds of really simple, wholesome foods that I grew up with. So whenever things get hard, the thing that I automatically revert to are those stored items, the things that are always on our pantry shelves. So of course, I am a mother of 8 children. My mom and dad had 2 children. My husband's parents had 3 children. We have big families back in our grandparents and great-grandparents. But the way that we prepare, of course, is just a little bit different. And the biggest difference, of course, is that we eat a lot of food. We are not small people, and we do not have small appetites. So storing food, it looks like a lot. When you see the amount of food we have, it seems maybe excessive. But remember, this is for 10 people, and we do try to keep 6 to 12 months of most things. Meat, we probably have more like 3 to 4 months. And food storage is extra important to us because my husband drives dump truck for a company that's local, and that is essentially seasonal work. He works a little bit through the winter, like a day a week, if that. But for 3 to 4 months of the year, he is laid off, and he does get unemployment, but that's not the same as getting a paycheck. So by this time of year, October, November, definitely by the end of November, we're looking to have our winter's worth of food in the home. Of course, we will still have money, we will still go shopping, but we will do it more carefully. We won't buy as much, and so we just try not to shop during that time, and having food on hand and always rotating through that food makes a huge difference. It makes winter go smoothly because it's something that we're accustomed to. So whenever I talk about building a pantry, food storage, whatever you want to call it, I am not prepping. I am not trying to prepare for some unknown disaster. We're not over here living in fear, wearing tinfoil hats. We just believe that being prepared, storing food, is the way that things have been done for generations, and that it is wise. We keep a large stockpile of food, as I mentioned, but it gets used and restocked at least on a yearly basis. There are a few things, of course, that are random that we thought we would eat, and they maybe hang out a little bit longer. So no matter what is going on globally or locally, economically, financially, politically, any stressful situation, something as simple as a paycheck that's a few days late, or a snowstorm, or an unexpected expense that causes everything to be extra tight, all of those things are going to be made a little bit easier if you already have in your mind that you know that you can feed your family and that you can give them foods that they are familiar with and that they enjoy. Also, whenever I'm talking about building a pantry or building food storage, we're also trying to stockpile household needs. So things like toilet paper, paper towels, cat food, diapers, dish soap, deodorant, all of those things that you would buy at a grocery store, that gets included in my idea of building a pantry. So now you know a little bit about me. and my story, and why I think storing food is very important, very wise, but you might still have questions. So in the next few videos, I hope to address most of what you would question about what I've said. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them as a comment, and I'll do my best to answer. And this is something that I get asked about a lot, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. I want to help people be prepared. So in the next few videos, I'm going to talk about how to get started, how to know what to buy, how much to buy, where to buy it, how to store it, how to deal with limited space issues. Things that I think maybe make things easier whenever it comes to storing food. You will need to learn to think seasonally as far as the things that you're purchasing. You're going to want to know how to rotate your food storage, how to use it, the kinds of recipes to use, and that kind of thing. So that's what's coming up, and I thank you for joining me today. Subscribe, stay tuned, and I'll talk to you soon.